My ex-girlfriend got revenge on me and I'm so broken. I, 25 male, have been with my ex-girlfriend Carly, 23 female, for nearly 10 years. We were high school sweethearts and we had a good relationship up until after she completed college. Adulthood has been putting strain on our relationship, so bills and finding sustaining jobs has been a challenge. We started arguing a bunch and just started overall being annoyed with each other's existence. We weren't sleeping in the same room, let alone being intimate. It was a tough time to say the least. We tried therapy and I felt like it wasn't working. I honestly wanted to be done, but I couldn't break up with her because we lived together and she helped me get out of debt. So I did something horrible and I started cheating on her with her childhood best friend. Ah! What the fudge? I thought she would never find out, and oh my gosh, I was wrong. I am a firm believer that the truth will always come out. Always. Yesterday afternoon, I came home and she wanted to talk. And without hesitation, she jumped straight into it and asked me point blank if I was cheating on her. And I, of course, tried to lie, and she just starts laughing and says, I knew you weren't going to admit it, but I was going to give you the benefit of the doubt. So now I feel less guilty. I confessed to her, and she just looked at me. She didn't have an expression nor speak. When I finished, she just laughed and told me that I would never forget it. Honestly, it's fine because Louis was over last weekend and we had a great time. My heart dropped to my stomach because Louis is my big brother. I just thought it was a low blow on Carly, given she knew how insecure I was about my brother. He's a golden child and literally always did things 10 times better than me. I'm stuck having to have some sort of relationship with him, and meanwhile, she can just drop her friend. My chest and heart have been hurting so much since I found out, and I'm so broken. I know I was wrong for cheating first, but if she knew, why didn't she just break up with me first? I called out of work because I feel like throwing up just thinking about it. My wife bought a house without telling me. I snooped and found more stuff. I think my marriage might be over. I really am lost on what to do now. We've been married for 5 years. I'm 33, she's 25, and she's always been a private loner type, but this is too much in my opinion. I have a gym membership I was trying to get canceled and was looking for bank statements in our home office area, and I found a deed to a house and debt consolidation information, and eventually a deed to a house that was bought in 2020 in my wife's home state, 8 hours away from where we live now. I saw red and thought she was cheating or had another lover and confronted her. She was surprised but didn't act like she did anything wrong because she used her money. My wife worked with other developers on a software product that was eventually bought for a decent sum, and when her parents passed away, she received all of their assets as their only child. So she technically does not need work for the rest of her life, she just chooses to. She told me that she brought it up years ago that she wanted to have her own place that can be used for vacations or rental property, but that in the case of a divorce, she wants a place that's hers as our prenup states that the house will go to me. Yes, I do remember this conversation, but she never told me she had bought the place or had actually done it, so I find that pretty fishy. It sounds like you have listening problems. The conversation happened, buddy. After the conversation, I started snooping while she was at work the next day because I couldn't sleep. When we met, she was upfront about not wanting kids. I asked a little bit before I proposed, and she said she for sure did not want them. I told her that I did, and she said that she would be willing to adopt a child above the age of 2, but not willing to have it herself. Didn't make sense to me, but adoption is A-okay in my book. We started the adoption process in October and are still being verified and getting our backgrounds checked. But while looking through her computers, I saw she had reached out about getting her tubes tied and contacted her health insurance company about coverage and specific doctors in the network. So I know she is pretty serious and didn't look it up on a whim. I went back and asked her about it, and she said she always told me that she doesn't want kids and she isn't hiding anything, and told me it is only common sense to prevent pregnancy before she gets stuck with one. I called her out on her word usage and said I'm not sure she would be a good mother. She snapped on me and called me an unrealistic fool. She still made us our breakfast and packed my lunch for my night shift, but I can tell from how she packed it, she's still mad. She usually makes cute bento-style lunchboxes for me every day, and today was just leftover meat and fresh sides, not fresh everything. I told her if she had something to say to me, she should say it, but that I'm not okay with her trying to make life-altering decisions without even talking to me. She was taking a bath and just pulled the curtain and ignored me. I can't talk to any of my buddies about this because they've already said I should have left her years ago, but the reasoning on why is something I don't fully agree with, and they won't offer me real advice. She feels like I'm overstepping and doesn't listen when she talks, something we've had a problem with since we started dating. And I feel like she's too independent. I want to make things work, and I'm just really stuck here on which one of us is not being understanding enough or how to get past this. Am I wrong for not telling strangers that I wash my behind? It sounds clickbait, but it's not. I, 30 female, come from a country where it is customary to wash your bottom after you go number 2. It is a standard practice like in many other countries, and every household has bathrooms with bidets. I currently live in a European country where it is not that common, but you can still find a few houses that do have a bidet. And some people here wash and others wipe, but neither choice is strange to the other group. I happen to live in a house with 2 bathrooms, a small one with a toilet and a sink, and a large one that also has a bathtub and a bidet. When I have guests, I usually point them to the smaller bathroom, but only because it is closer to the area we usually hang out. Last weekend, my wife, 40 female, and I had a bunch of friends over for a barbecue since the weather is nice and we have a terrace. One of my friends brought Kelly, 30, who is from the US and I've never met before. Everything was going well, and I thought Kelly was nice. I was grilling sausages, and at one point, I take one out to give it to someone and drop it on Kelly's feet, who was wearing flip-flops. I apologized profusely and handed Kelly a napkin. She said not to worry, but she preferred to wash, so she leaves while I stay in the terrace cleaning the floor. She comes back a moment later and comments on how cute that our bathroom has a little feet washer. My wife and I were like, "What?" And then she repeats, and I say, "Oh, you mean the bidet?" Kelly did not know what a bidet was, and when I explained to her, she was shocked and asked if we actually use it to wash after going to the toilet. And I say that my wife doesn't. She's from a country where it is not that common, but I do. And that's when she lost it. She got agitated and furious and asking how come we didn't tell her, to which I said I've never had to explain to anyone what a bidet was before. She said we should have warned her and that we need to warn our guests that I wash my behind there and that is not normal and that I was an asshole. I started naming some of the many countries that do wash as a cultural norm while also stating that here, even if people don't have one, everyone knows what it is. But she completely went nuts when she realized that the little towel hanging next to it is for drying my bottom. Seems like she used it to dry her feet and hands. She left shortly after along with my friend. I don't think I did anything wrong, my wife thinks the same, but my friend said I should have apologized and another friend said she understood Kelly's point. So, am I the asshole? I want to note that the bidet was clean. Just wanted to add that the poop towel, as people are referring to, is the size of a napkin, and it hangs directly next to the bidet about 40 centimeters from the floor, so I don't see how anybody could mistake it for a normal towel. Also, we don't share the towel. Each person has their own. It's just that I am the one who uses the bidet, therefore only one poop towel. Lastly, the towel dries after you clean. There is no poop, just like when you get out of the shower.
Am I wrong for bullying the police into pressing charges against a bunch of kids? First and most important, I'm not here for legal advice. I'm just here to see if I'm wrong. Second, this is my property that I have a mortgage on. It's not community or city property. So this past winter, I had a pool installed at my house. After the pool installation, I had my old fence removed and installed new fences that met with the city code for a residential pool. My new fence is higher than my old one and the gates have approved locks. Well, about a month ago, I had to travel for work and was gone for about 2 weeks. When I came back, I found my backyard trashed and it seems someone had a pool party while I was gone. The locks on my gates were broken, but luckily no one broke into my house. Now I have security cameras, so when I checked them, I saw 20 teens having a pool party. I didn't give anyone permission to have a party at my pool, so obviously I was mad, and when I zoomed in, I recognized some of their faces from the neighborhood. Am I wrong for bullying the police into pressing charges against a bunch of kids? I went to the police and submitted a copy of the recordings and tried to file a report. The cops did their best to try to talk me out of it, but I pressed them on it until they relented and took a report. But weeks passed by and I heard nothing, so I called them to find out what was being done. I got angry and threatened to sue unless they get off their behinds and enforce the laws. I should also point out that I live in a town with about 2,000 people and nothing ever happens here. Finally, they got some of the teens seen on my security video, but they tried to talk me out of pressing charges. But I was adamant and insisted. When my girlfriend found out, she said I should have let it go and we got in an argument. Even my own mom thinks I'm being a bully by forcing the cops to file charges against teens who just wanted to throw a party. Everyone is making me out to be some grumpy guy with a score to settle, and they're worried about me destroying the teens' futures. Right now, it feels like me against the world, and I want to know if I'm wrong. Am I wrong for leaving my niece's wedding reception early and taking back my gift? I'm 45 male, and I have a niece who's 22 and just got married last weekend. And currently the family is blowing up with drama because of what I and my wife did. I must preface this by saying that my family can definitely be pushovers and they really hate conflict. So they tend to let themselves be run over by someone else in order not to have a fight, and I am not this way. Anyway, the wedding was on a Saturday, a Catholic ceremony in a church that was at 3:30 p.m. and the reception area was at a brewery about 15 minutes from the church. The reception was set to start at 5, and maybe this was stupid on the venue people, but they wouldn't open the bar or bring appetizers until the bride and groom arrived. Service ended around 4:30 and everybody was told to go to the reception. The wedding party had a limo, and a separate limo took parents, grandparents, and siblings. The couple is young and decided against family and the wedding party. Am I wrong for leaving my niece's wedding reception early and taking back my gift? It was 4 sorority sisters and fraternity brothers on each side, and my wife and I drove. We arrived at the venue around 4:50 with the first family limo arriving around that time. By 5, I'd say 150 guests were there, but no bride and groom. The wedding coordinator was getting pissed as it's now 5:45 and there's absolutely no wedding party. We were all just standing around with no food or drinks. Someone was able to get a hold of the maid of honor, and apparently the bride and groom told the limo driver to stop at a liquor store, then to drive them around on the highway for an hour so the wedding party could get trashed. At around 6, the maid of honor said they'd be arriving in 20 minutes, but my wife and I looked at each other and said, "We're out." I told my brother that we're leaving and taking the gift with us, and he tried to plead by saying they're just kids, let them have fun. A few days later, my niece apologized and also asked for the gift. Am I wrong for telling my mom's new boyfriend that he's not really considered grandpa and telling him my sister's baby won't be calling him that name? My sister just had her second baby about 4 weeks ago, and as usual, everyone's really excited. Everyone, including my mom's new boyfriend of almost a year. Let's call him Gabe. Gabe is pretty cool, and all around he's a fun guy to be around, but to be honest, neither me or my siblings consider him a father figure. Or someone close. I mean, we're all pretty much grown up and have our own lives, so what men our mother sleeps with has literally nothing to do with us. Also, I'm not sure if it matters, but our real dad has been out of our lives since we were little. But yeah, my sister had her baby and everything was great until I went to visit. She told me mom and her new boyfriend came over and brought gifts, but she was super uncomfortable with a man she considers a stranger holding her daughter. I was inclined to agree. Although Gabe was nice and had given her money here and there, he's not really her dad, so I get it. Am I wrong for telling my mom's new boyfriend that he's really not considered grandpa and telling him my sister's baby won't be calling him that name? I ended up telling my mom's boyfriend that it's not likely he'll be any kind of grandpa to my niece. This was not out of the blue, as he had mentioned how he felt there was some tension between us and him, and I simply felt like being honest. This obviously hurt his feelings, and as a result, he went pretty quiet. My mother was somewhat mad at me for saying this, saying things like, well, if you guys bother to visit more, maybe you consider him a dad. And that he's a good man, better than your father ever was. He apparently holds no hard feelings, but I have to say the interactions we've had are definitely more awkward. So now my mom wants me to apologize to him and also wants my sister to welcome him as grandpa, since he apparently has no kids of his own at this point and is missing out on the experience. But I don't know, I feel like we, my sister especially, have every right to feel this way about him. Am I wrong?